What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Blank Online here today to chat with you guys some more about Call of Duty. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Call of Duty 2020. Now, one of the big things that happened recently was the Activision Q4 shareholders meeting, where I guess Activision got together with the shareholders and just said really positive things about what they're doing in the future and going into 2020. And obviously, one of the big things that came up in that meeting was Call of Duty, because obviously it's their biggest franchise. And in regards to Call of Duty 2020, the game that we're going to be getting this year. Now, I guess one of the most interesting things coming out of that thing was that the fact that Activision didn't confirm which studio was taking charge of Call of Duty 2020. As per the leaks, we know that Treyarch is taking charge of that game now because Sledgehammer and Raven Software, they weren't going to complete that game in time due to creative differences, so Activision told Treyarch to go in there and complete the game for them in order to be ready for 2020. But it's weird that Activision didn't just say that Treyarch is developing the game with Sledgehammer Games and Raven Software supporting them, which gets me, and I guess it turns the cogs in my mind, and I get my tinfoil hat out and I start to speculate like what that could mean. Because last year when we had the Q4 investment meeting, excuse me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that they said that Infinity Ward will be helming Call of Duty 2019, and I'm pretty sure they always do that. Like, we know what the development cycle is. We know that's going to be an Infinity Ward, then a Sledgehammer, then a Treyarch. But this time it ended up being an Infinity Ward and a Treyarch, and then seemingly the year after is going to be an Infinity Ward again if Sledgehammer can't get themselves together. I'm not too sure if we're going back to a 2-year or we're going back, or we're staying with a 3-year. I'm not too sure, but yeah. So the fact that they didn't confirm what development studio is behind Call of Duty 2020 is very interesting, because one of the things that at least I saw, one of the most interesting things is that I saw from 402 Thunder, which he, I guess, speculated that this year we're going to be getting Modern Warfare 2 remastered, and we're going to get whatever Treyarch and Sledgehammer's game is in 2021. And that's interesting to me, because we know that it exists. We know that somewhere out there, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered exists. It's been posted on the ESRB ratings websites. It's gotten a rating. It exists. It's a project that exists, and if the leaks and rumors are to be believed, it's finished. Like, the campaign side of it's finished. Could we be getting Modern Warfare 2 remastered in 2020 instead of Treyarch's and Sledgehammer's Call of Duty 2020, whatever they were developing? And it would make sense, right? Because if the campaign's finished, what you could do is you could get Raven Software to remaster the multiplayer and the Spec Ops and get them to do that. And now, what would be hard, I guess, with that is if they haven't been developing that up until this point, it'd feel a bit rushed, because they only have, it's February right now, the game would come out around October, so they only have 8 months to develop a multiplayer and a Spec Ops mode for Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. Granted, they already have the assets and the maps and the guns and everything like that, but they still have to remaster it for both the current gen and the next gen, because keep in mind, 2020 is when we're getting the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. So what will be a trouble for even Treyarch and Sledgehammer is to develop for 2 generations of consoles while being on a crunch time. And I guess it's, I don't know, it's worrying to think that, first of all, Treyarch only has a year to develop a full game for 2 generations of consoles, but also they're developing a game that originally wasn't theirs, so they've got to kind of work together with Sledgehammer Games so that Sledgehammer is happy with the project that they put out, and Treyarch is happy with the project that they put out, as well as Activision being happy with the project they put out. Because if we can imagine Call of Duty 2020 coming out in October and the player base is not happy with it. Player base is already not happy with Modern Warfare. So can you imagine for a second year in a row, we get a game that we're not happy with? We get a unfinished game or whatever. The problem with Modern Warfare is not that it's not unfinished. The problem with Modern Warfare is what Infinity Ward tried to do in terms of appealing to newer players and catering to those newer players. So changing the way Call of Duty is in order to appeal for that new audience. What I'm scared with Call of Duty 2020 is going to be, I'm scared that it's going to be proper. It's going to appeal to both new and hardcore players, so there's not going to be no safe space or anything like that, but it's going to be unfinished, it's going to be unpolished, it's going to be a lot of glitches and things that were, I guess, not enough content as well, and things that were meant to be in the game but they just didn't have time to put it in, so they cut it. And that's one of my fears with Call of Duty 2020, is that there's just not enough time. These developers, mind you, are used to now the 3-year development cycle. They're used to having 3 years to fully develop their game, and now Treyarch only has about a year to develop this one. So how are they going to manage and weave their way through completing Call of Duty 2020, which, again, I'll reiterate, originally wasn't their game to begin with. Now, the Gaming Revolution, who is a well-known leaker for Call of Duty stuff, stated that it seems that the name is not set in stone yet for Call of Duty 2020. It's most likely that it will be titled Black Ops/Black Operations as opposed to Black Ops 5, but they could even go for something else with an additional subtitle. So apparently, even the name's not set in stone for this game yet, and I guess, is that worrying? Is that something that we should be worried about? Should we be worried about them not having a name? Because keep in mind, the name of the game really dictates what the game's about. So your Black Ops games are based on Black Operations missions and sections of military groups who are specialized in a certain thing to deal with certain situations. Your Modern Warfare games are exactly what they say. They're modern warfare, so they're a commentary on warfare in modern times. World at War was World War II. Call of Duty World War II was based off World War II. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare was based on warfare in the infinite, so space and the infinite blackness of that whole area, I guess. And Advanced Warfare was based on advancing warfare using exosuits and advanced technologies to improve the way that the military does their operations. So if this game doesn't have a title yet, what's the premise of this game? Do they even have a premise of this game? Are they having creative differences on what they want this game to be? Which again is all kind of worrying signs, but also might not be. Maybe I'm just, I guess, creating too much drama or whatever in regards to them not having a fucking name for their game yet. I guess we all thought it was going to be Black Ops 5, but maybe they're doing something like Infinity Ward did, where they're doing a sort of soft reboot of the franchise and just calling it Black Ops, and then we're going to continue on from where we were in 2011 with the original Black Ops again. And I guess if this is the future of Call of Duty, then I guess we just have to deal with it. But for me personally, I'd rather them do something more creative than just reboot franchises that have worked before. I mean, can you imagine in another, what are we in, 2020, in 2011, when Black Ops came out? Can you imagine in another 9 years we get another soft reboot of Black Ops after getting 4 Black Ops games? Like, is that really the life cycle we're going to get? I guess, I don't know, man. I don't know. Call of Duty 2020 is going to be an interesting one because we don't know. Well, we know, but we don't officially know who's developing that game. If Sledgehammer and Raven Software did get their things together, then they would have announced that Sledgehammer will be helming Call of Duty 2020 because it's been 3 years since World War II came out. And I guess, I don't know. It's just weird to me. And also 402's Thunder's theory of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered being the game we're going to get in 2020, if that were to happen, I think that everyone would be pretty happy with that. I personally would be really happy with that because I'd love to relive the glory days of Modern Warfare 2, and I'd love for people who didn't experience that to then have the opportunity to. And I hope that players who love Modern Warfare get to experience a proper Call of Duty game in Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, so that they can see what Call of Duty actually is, as opposed to what it has become now with Modern Warfare, and it's just a slow, campy sweat fest for players with G Fuel sweatbands and don't want to make it into the Optic CDL League team, and just all this skill-based matchmaking garbage and all that crap, which is not Call of Duty, by the way. Call of Duty is a fun, fast-paced arcade shooter, and that's what Modern Warfare 2 is. And if we do get Modern Warfare 2 Remastered here in 2020, I would not be against it at all, because don't forget, in 2016 we got Infinite Warfare and Call of Duty 4 remastered. A majority of the players did play Call of Duty 4 remastered for an entire year, even though a majority of those players already played the original Call of Duty 4. Having that game for another year being remastered with new content just reinvigorated that game. So I'd love to see that happen again with Modern Warfare 2 remastered if we do get that in 2020. And I think that would be the best case as well, because I'd hate for Call of Duty 2020 to come out, and again, as I said earlier, for it to be a flop, for it to be bad, for it to be unfinished, unpolished, not enough content, and just a bad Call of Duty game. I'd love for them to just take an extra year, release it in 2021, and give us Modern Warfare 2 Remastered in 2020 with the Modern Warfare Battle Royale, and with Modern Warfare to be continued in support in 2020. So give us that for 2020, and then just delay Call of Duty, what was meant to be Call of Duty 2020, by 1 year into 2021, and then give us a proper game. And I think that will benefit everyone. That will benefit Activision, and it'll benefit the players as well, because what will happen is we get a proper game in 2021, but we also get a beloved game in 2020, so that hardcore old school players can relive what they experienced back in 2009, and then new players can experience that same thing for the first time. So I think that will be really, really good in terms of reinvigorating the franchise after Modern Warfare, which was a disappointment from the players' point of view, but a really big success in terms of Activision's point of view, in terms of numbers and sales and stuff like that, and microtransactions and that sort of thing. So I guess that's all I have to talk about today. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment down below, what would you like to see in 2020 in terms of Call of Duty? Would you rather see Treyarch and Sledgehammer's game this year, or would you rather them take a break for a year and for us to get Modern Warfare 2 remastered this year? Click subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out.